Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Gabo the Shaman, and today we are talking about, we're actually reading Thunder Shamanism. It's called Thunder Shamanism, the Indo-European Medicine Wheel. Yep, Thunder Shamanism, the Indo-European Medicine Wheel. And today we'll be reading part 2. So I'm breaking these into like 20-minute sections. So yeah, we'll see how far we get today. This is part 2. And of course, I am a Vedic astrologer. I am a shaman. I do all kinds of stuff that you can see. Everything that I do is listed over here, and you can check that out. Alright. So, beginning with the Indo-Europeans. The Indo-Europeans. Since I have subtitled this book The Indo-European Medicine Wheel, I find the need to address how I am using this term in this book. The term Indo-European, i.e., describes primarily a linguistic connection among the majority of languages in Europe and in parts of the Middle East and Eurasia. I am not using this term in any ethnic sense. Recent developments in linguistics and DNA research have concluded that the languages that fall within the classical foundation are within the so the languages that fall within the classification of Indo-European have their origins in Paleolithic Africa, with a portion of the first modern humans who crossed the Sahara and migrated into the northern hemisphere. That means that the first people who spoke this language were dark-skinned Africans who, over long stretches of time, adapted to changing environments in various places across the northern hemisphere. This occurred over the span of at least 50,000 years. That means that while the term Indo-European is most often associated with people of light skin and light eyes, and while that is indeed partially accurate, the first Indo-Europeans were dark-skinned Africans who, in various degrees and in various climates over tens of thousands of years, in Ice Age conditions, were slowly transformed in their appearance by their immediate climate. In those individuals who settled in the more northern areas of Europe, they transformed into what we now refer to as white people. But regardless of the various modern appearances of all the various Indo-European ethnic groups in existence today, they are all descendants from the hardy travelers from Africa who 50,000 years ago spoke the roots of Indo-European language and may have worshipped the same Indo-European gods as are found in much of ancient Indo-European mythology. The speakers of the IE languages, who by this time had spread into a vast territory stretching from northern Europe and eventually into southern Asia and India, had independently adapted to such a varying degree of climates that while their fundamental language, religion, and culture had remained remarkably uniform and intact, the ethnic and genetic factors had changed considerably, to the point to the point that from an ethnic perspective, after tens of thousands of years, these various IE peoples may not have even remotely resembled each other on a superficial physical viewing. I state this to silence any fears that this book is in any way intended as a means of ethnic exclusion. My use of the term Indo-European is intended to connect me all the way back through my ancestral line, stretching even to the origins of my people, who were in fact ethnic Africans. As a shaman, my job is to connect all the way back to the first people who carried with them the primal knowledge of the spirit realm. The men and women who were first carrying who were the first to carry the teachings and wisdom of the Shining Ones, the gods. In light of the immense span of time connected to the IE people, why am I focusing on this perhaps somewhat arbitrary classification of Indo-European? I must admit that I have a personal attachment to finding the roots of shamanic practices of my own Indo-European ancestors. As it happens, there is a surprising uniformity of understanding when different Indo-European spiritual traditions are compared to one another. But it would be misleading of me if I didn't inform the reader that I am also drawing significantly from other spiritual sources outside of the Indo-European model. I considered subtitling this book The Universal Medicine Wheel, but I did not want to give the impression of providing the world with a book consisting of yet another New Agey rehashing of pseudo Native American styled fluff that has filled our bookshelves for decades. I also use this term because I do feel that it is vitally important that the Western world, which has its roots in Indo-European history and culture, re-embrace its ancestral Indo-European spiritual and historical identity. Let me grab a drink and we'll see where we are. Okay. The obliteration of traditional animist Indo-European spiritual concepts from the Western world during the Middle Ages has resulted in a self-perpetuating spiritual emptiness within modern Western society. The result of this loss of our historic spiritual identity has forced those of us who wish to embrace indigenous shamanic paths to seek spiritual disciplines from outside our own Western cultural framework. This departure from modern Western spirituality has been absolutely necessary for modern shamanic seekers, because it is a fact that Westerners completely abandoned their traditional animist worldview millennia ago. And so we have no choice but to look to other cultures for legitimate shamanic practices. Unfortunately, however, adopting the cultural context of these exotic spiritual pathways also has reinforced millennia-old psychological patterns among many of European descent, creating feelings of spiritual inferiority, shame, and self-hatred that ironically perpetuate racial and cultural stereotypes that continue to isolate us from the very indigenous spirituality that we so desperately crave. In short, we need to remember that Westerners are also descended from indigenous primal shamanic practitioners, and this so-called primitive shamanic worldview rightly belongs to us too. With this understanding, it is not necessary to superficially adopt or appropriate the spiritual worldview of other cultures, unless we choose to do so. Unconsciously doing so in an attempt to escape the destructive limitations of our culture demeans everyone and creates a sense of hypocrisy and superficiality that can act as a hindrance to our spiritual progress. I'm not advocating against adopting foreign spiritual disciplines. Gods know I have studied them voraciously. I am advocating that whatever paths we adopt, we should be done with deliberate, conscious awareness. They should be pursued not as a means of escaping our Western heritage, but as a way to reawaken it. And then he has in quotes here, in parentheses, as I'm writing this, new genetic evidence has arisen that indicates the ethnic population that is most closely related to the first modern humans in Europe are the Scandinavians. I find this ironic because this is it is this Nordic stereotype of blonde-haired, blue-eyed, quote-unquote Aryan, that was used as a symbol of the Nazi racist propaganda machine, to differentiate white people from other darker races. Yet it is this Nordic ethnic population that retains the clearest genetic link to those first African explorers who ventured into the Ice Age Europe. Any modern racists who use their Nordic heritage as a way to differentiate themselves from other ethnicities are in fact unwittingly acknowledging that their so-called Aryan ethnicity is what links them most directly with their ancient African ancestors. And again, all this does for me is to underscore the deep self-hatred that has infected the modern Western psyche for the past 2 millennia. Alright guys, I think I'm going to end it there. Let me see. Oh, I have another paragraph to go, so I'll just read that paragraph and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so the world has been happy to explore traditional Indo-European spiritual concepts in television, video games, and in such films as The Lord of the Rings, which, unbeknownst to most, are entirely based on pre-Christian polytheist Norse mythology. The world is ready to incorporate these traditional Indo-European spiritual beliefs and values into the patchwork of the spiritual melting pot of world religions. Our traditional Indo-European spirituality is, in my experience, one of the most beautiful, poetic, and powerful forms of spiritual practice I have ever experienced. It is my desire to take this noble and beautiful worldview out of the pages of fantasy and into the everyday reality of the sincere practitioner. Doing so, in my opinion, has the potential to transform the world into the beautiful, amazing, and magical place it has always been. And that is beautiful. So, thank you guys for watching. This is, once again, this is Thunder Shamanism, the Indo-European Medicine Wheel by Michael William Denney, my teacher. And, yeah, so if you like this book, oh yeah, I forgot that to say in the last video, but if you like this book, the link will be down below in the description for you to purchase it. And, you know, doing so helps the channel, helps my teacher, helps the channel, and helps you. So it's all a win-win-win. So, all right, guys. So if you aren't familiar with me already, I am a thunder shaman. I have all this stuff that I teach over here. The qigong, right over there, the kundalini yoga and stuff like that, and I am a Vedic astrologer. I do birth time rectifications as well. I do distance energy healing, shamanic healing. I do career coaching and life coaching as a shaman. And I do have my shamanic ritual magic courses on sale too. So, yeah, so that's it for me. If you are wondering, looking at this painting over here, and wondering who does that, that is, you can follow her. It's at Jen Carly Art on Instagram. So it's Jen Carly, Carley Art on Instagram. Alright, so yeah, I think that does it for me, guys. If you're interested in any of this stuff over here, you can go to linktree/Geba the Shaman and check it out. Alrighty. Thanks, guys, and we will talk to you next time. Peace.